All right, next, I want to talk about the version numbers. As you can see, when I use npm install Lodash, it inserts line 12 in package.json. It says Lodash, so this is the name of the package. That's easy to understand. Here, 4.17.15 is the version number. What do those numbers mean? So let me explain in PowerPoint. As you all know, software has a life cycle. That means it will evolve over time. For example, we may fix some bugs, make some modifications, introduce some new features, and so on. For software developers, release managers, and software consumers, keeping track of versions of a software product has always been a painful experience. There are actually many ways to keep track of updates and releases to a software product. One of the most effective ways is called semantic numbering. It is also used by NPM. So what is a semantic versioning? It is a 3-component number in the format of major.minor.patch. For example, 4.7.6. What do those numbers mean? So let's start with the last number, the patch number. Software developers usually increment patch number after fixing a bug that has been introduced to the software. So this kind of change is not meant to alter the behavior or the functionality of the existing software. So if a software consumer, right here, is currently using version 4.7.5, updating or upgrading to 4.7.6, we have no problem at all. So it's safe. In other words, it will not break your consumer's project. So for example, this person is developing Axios 4.7.6, and your consumer is using 4.7.5. So updating to the latest version has no problem. Next is minor number. This number will be incremented when developers add new features to the software, but it's still compatible with older versions. For example, version 4.7.6 will still be compatible with version 4.8.0. With minor version updates, consumers, your software consumers, will definitely see new changes to the software's functionality and features, which is good. But that change is less risky for them because introducing, for example, version 4.8 or 4.9 will not break your consumer's current project. So it is also safe to upgrade from 4.7 to 4.8 or 4.9. We have new features, but this will not break our current project. Okay, let's talk about the first number, major update. When developers of the software make significant changes, so what do I mean by significant change? For example, change software's APIs. Okay, that's very huge. Dropping some features, changing minimum environment requirements, the baseline requirements. Those are called significant changes because once you update from 4.7 to, for example, 5.0 or 6.0, this change will break your current project. So for example, right now, here we're the user or the consumer of Axios. Now we're using Axios 4.7, for example. Okay, Axios only have 0. something. Now, if we're updating it from 4.7 to 5.0 or 6.0, this will break my current project. So I have to go there and manually fix those by myself. So at this point, the software package has evolved drastically. Okay, be very careful when you update from 4.7 to 5.0. Do a major update. Next, I'm going to show you an example of the differences between software 4.0 and software 5.0. Between the two major versions. Spring is a popular Java backend framework. If a project is using Spring version 4, then upgrading to Spring version 5 will cause some problem. Okay? In other words, it will break your project. Why? Because here, Spring 5 requires JDK 8 or above, while Spring 4 can run on JDK 7, 8, 6. So Spring 5 changes the minimum environment requirement. Also, Spring 5 requires Java EE 7 API. So if your Spring 4 project is using, for example, Servlet 2 or JPA 1.1, then it will break. It also has some requirements on the web service you use. You have to use Tomcat 8.5 or above. Now in our course, we're using 9, so there's no problem. In Spring 5, it also removed some packages, classes, and methods. Well, this is horrible, right? For example, in Spring 4, I'm using a package or class or method. And if I switch to Spring 5, suddenly I have those syntax errors in my editor because Spring 5 removed those classes. So I cannot import those classes and use the methods. That's considered as a major change because it's API change. Also, Spring 5 dropped some supports. So this will all cause problem if you are switching from Spring 4 to Spring 5. You as a developer of your project has to go there and fix those problems one by one to upgrade from Spring 4 to Spring 5. So be very careful when you go from a lower version to a more advanced major version. But for minor version and patch versions, there's no problem. They will not break your current project. Now you have a good understanding of what those numbers are. 4.17.15, it means major.minor.patch. Let me talk about this symbol here, this caret. What does this mean? Because when we use npm install package, and by default, we're going to get this symbol in front of the version number. So what is it? Let me delete this first. Can you tell me the meaning of line 12? I think it's very simple, right? It means I need Lodash, and the version I need is 4.17.15. So if you give me 4.17.16 or 4.17.14, I'm not going to like it. So I want this exact version number. So it's quite easy to understand. But what happens if I have this symbol here? It means differently, right? Of course. So let me show you an example. The current version, the latest version of Lodash is 4.17.15. So let's uninstall this and install an earlier version. Okay, so how do we uninstall a package? npm, this time I'm going to use uninstall Lodash. Okay, it's gone. And then we're going to install a lower version. npm install Lodash. Well, if you do this, it will give you the latest version. Okay, now you have to use @something. All right, let's go to Google Chrome. And here is the changelog of Lodash. As you can see, the current version is 4.17.15. Let's install a very low version, 3. Okay, let's go all the way down. Okay, so after I scroll down, I find a version 3.9.3. So let's copy this and go back, paste. If I enter, so it's downloading this version, 3.9.3. Okay, as you can see, now I'm having 3.9.3. All right, let me take out this. All right, this is too low, right? This version is too low. There may be bugs, there are less functionalities. I really want to update it. And in NPM, you can update using npm update and Lodash. So in this case, can I update Lodash? The answer is no, because here I specified I need this version, okay? So you are not allowed to update this. If I press enter, as you can see, it's not changing, right? It's not changing. But what if I change this to caret? Okay, so let me show you what happened here. npm update Lodash. Make sure I save it. Okay, so if I press enter, what happened? I'm sure some students will say, okay, this update will give us Lodash 4.17.15, you know, the current version, right? The latest version. So let's see what happened. Well, it's very interesting. It gives us 3.10.1. It looks like update is not changing the major number, okay? So it looks like this symbol here controls that we're not going to update this major number, but only update minor and patch. So let's look at 3.10.1. So let's go to the changelog. If I scroll up, so here is, so after 3.9.3, we have 3.10, we have 3.10.1. Okay, if I scroll up, well, this list is long, it must be a major revision. That's right. So this is 4.0.0. So if I go back to 3.10.1 right here, so this is the very last version before we make a major update. So that means using caret will update your package to all future minor patch versions without incrementing the major version. So that's why we go to 3.10.1, not 4.17.15. Okay, so let me go back. npm uninstall, because we do not need this. All right, okay, npm install lodash. This time we're going to install at, for example, 4.16.5. I think this one is also there. So return. Okay, now we got 4.16.5. Remember, the current version, the most recent version is 4.17. Okay, now this time I'm going to change this one to a different symbol, tilde. Okay, so what happened here? This time if I do npm update lodash. Okay, now pay attention to this. What happened here? Do we get the latest version, 4.17.15? Okay, so if I press enter, well, we do get a new version, but it's not the minor version. So if you're using, oh, by the way, it already is also changed back here. If you use this symbol here, it will only update this package to all future patch versions. Okay, so we're going to keep 4.16 and we're going to update the last digit to the latest version. So if you go to the changelog, you will see that 4.16.6 is the last patch version in 4.16. If we are using caret, okay, now this time, if I do npm update lodash, this will update to 4.17.15, the latest version. Okay, so to summarize, using caret will update this package to all future minor / patch versions without incrementing the major version. Using tilde will update the package to all future patch versions without incrementing the minor version.